I never thought a group chat could break my heart and set me free at the same time. It happened on a Wednesday, just before lunch. I was sitting at my desk at the marketing firm in downtown Chicago, reviewing campaign analytics, when my phone buzzed. The notification lit up my screen like a warning flare. Mom, please don't come. The family wants a problem-free wedding. No greeting. No explanation. No honey or sweetheart or any of the usual cushioning she used when delivering bad news. Just those words, hanging on my screen like a verdict handed down by a judge who'd already made up their mind. I stared at the message, my coffee going cold in my hand. Then, 2 seconds later, I saw it. That little notification that made my stomach drop straight through the floor. Claire liked this message. My sister. My baby sister. The one I'd helped raise. The one whose wedding I'd been planning and paying for. She didn't just agree with our mother. She actively endorsed my exclusion. That thumbs-up icon sat there like a stamp of approval on my erasure from the family. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 30 seconds. Could have been 5 minutes. My colleague, Natasha, walked past my cubicle twice and asked if I was okay. I barely heard her. They didn't just want me gone. They wanted me gone together. My hands were shaking when I finally typed my response. Each word felt like pulling a thread that would unravel everything, but I was past caring. Great choice. Then you'll be free of my payments too. I hit send. And then the group chat exploded. Within seconds, the typing bubbles started appearing. 1, 2, 5, 7 people all typing at once. My phone started buzzing so violently it nearly vibrated off my desk. Mom, what do you mean by that? Dad, payments? What payments? Claire, Brittany, what are you doing? Aunt Diane, this isn't necessary. Grandmother, what did you all expect? Uncle Lawrence, can we discuss this privately? Cousin Jasmine, wait, what's happening? Message after message flooded in. The notification counter climbed into double digits. But here's what struck me, what really cut through all the noise and pretending. They weren't shocked that I was excluded. They were shocked that I wasn't going to fund the wedding anymore. Not one person said, wait, why isn't Brittany invited? Not one person said, that's not fair. Not one person defended me. They only panicked when they realized the money train was pulling out of the station. I turned my phone face down on my desk. My hands were still shaking, but it wasn't from fear or sadness anymore. It was something else. Something that felt like the ground shifting beneath my feet, like tectonic plates finally moving after years of pressure building up. For the first time in a long, long while, I felt something strange and unfamiliar wash over me. Relief. Pure, unexpected relief. I picked up my coffee, took a sip of the lukewarm liquid, and stared out the window at the Chicago skyline. Somewhere out there, my family was freaking out. Somewhere out there, the carefully constructed fiction we'd all been living under was crumbling. And I realized something profound. I had been waiting for this moment my entire life. Let me back up and tell you who I am, because that context matters. My name is Brittany Catherine Morrison. I'm 32 years old. I'm the oldest daughter in a family that values appearances over authenticity, performance over truth. I'm the reliable one, the fixer, the planner, the organizer, the woman who shows up early, stays late, and handles the details nobody else wants to think about. My sister Claire is 28. For years younger than me, but you'd think she was royalty the way our family treats her. She's the golden child. The fun one. The dramatic one. The one who lights up a room when she walks in, who makes everyone laugh, who never has to worry about consequences because someone, usually me, will catch her when she falls. She's always been that way. When we were kids, if Claire forgot her science project, I'd help her throw one together the night before while she painted her nails. If she ran out of gas on Highway 94 at 11 at night, I'd drive 40 minutes from my apartment in Evanston to pick her up. If she overdrew her checking account, again, I'd transfer her money and pretend it was no big deal. Our parents encouraged this dynamic. They loved it, actually. Mom would say things like, "Brittany's so responsible, she doesn't mind helping." Dad would chuckle and call me his little manager. They trained me from childhood to carry Claire's weight along with my own. And I did it. God help me, I did it willingly. 6 months ago, Claire got engaged to her boyfriend of 2 years, Trevor. He's fine. Works in real estate, drives a Lexus, plays golf on Sundays. The kind of guy who looks good in family photos and doesn't challenge anything. Perfect for Claire. When she announced the engagement at Sunday dinner at Majano's in Oak Brook, the family erupted in celebration. Champagne appeared. Mom cried happy tears. Dad made a toast about his little girl growing up. And then Mom turned to me with that smile. The one I knew too well. Claire has so much on her plate with wedding planning, she said, squeezing my hand. You're so good at organizing. You can help with the details, right? It wasn't really a question. Of course, I said. Because that's what I always said. Within a week, I was drowning in wedding responsibilities. Claire would send me links to venues, dresses, and flower arrangements at 2 in the morning with messages like thoughts. I'd research vendors, compare prices, negotiate contracts. I'd make spreadsheets, create timelines, coordinate with everyone. But it went further than that. When the venue required a deposit, Claire texted, "Can you cover it? I'll pay you back." She never paid me back. When the band needed 50% upfront, Dad said, "Brittany, you've got the better credit card rewards. Put it on yours." I put it on mine. When the photographer required the full payment to secure the date, Mom said, "Claire's saving for the honeymoon. You understand." I understood that I was funding my sister's wedding. Every invoice had my name on it. Every contract listed me as the point of contact. Every vendor knew me as the person who signed checks and made decisions. I kept every receipt in a folder on my laptop. The total climbed higher and higher. Venue deposit, catering contract, floral arrangements, band, photographer, videographer, wedding favors, transportation, rehearsal dinner venue. $47,312. That's what I'd paid. I told myself I was doing it for family. For love. For peace. For the day when they'd finally see me as more than just the responsible one. But really, deep down, I think I was doing it to be accepted. To be valued. To be loved the way they loved Claire. Then one message, 12 words, shattered that fantasy completely. I left work early that Wednesday. Told my boss, Andrew, that I had a family emergency. He took one look at my face and told me to take the rest of the week if I needed it. I drove back to my apartment in Lincoln Park in a daze. The city blurred past my windows, the brownstones, the coffee shops, the people walking their dogs in the autumn sunshine. Everything looked normal. Everything looked the same. But I wasn't the same. I climbed the 3 flights to my apartment, unlocked the door, and went straight to my kitchen. I poured myself a glass of wine even though it was only 2 in the afternoon. Then I sat at my small dining table, the one I'd bought at West Elm with my own money, in the apartment I'd rented with my own credit, and I finally looked at my phone. 143 messages in the family group chat. I scrolled through them slowly, watching the panic unfold in real time. Claire, Brittany, you can't be serious. Mom, this is your sister's wedding day we are talking about. Dad, let's all calm down and discuss this like adults. Aunt Diane, family comes first. Brittany, Uncle Lawrence, there must be a misunderstanding. Claire, I've been stressed, you know I've been stressed. Mom, we can talk about this at Sunday dinner. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just demands, justifications, and attempts to smooth things over so the wedding could proceed as planned. With my funding. My phone rang. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Dad. Voicemail. Claire tried 3 times in a row. I turned my phone on silent and took another sip of wine. That's when my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. For a moment, I considered not answering. But then I heard her voice through the door. Brittany, honey, it's Grandma Josephine. I know you're in there. I opened the door. My grandmother stood in the hallway, all 5'2" of her, wearing her usual Wednesday outfit, pressed slacks, a cardigan, and the pearl necklace my grandfather gave her 40 years ago. But her expression was different from usual. There was steel beneath the softness. I thought you might need company, she said, walking past me into the apartment. She'd brought lemon cookies from her favorite bakery in Naperville. She put them on the counter, poured herself a glass of water, and sat down across from me at the table. "Tell me what happened," she said. So I did. I showed her the message from Mom. The thumbs up from Claire. My response. The explosion that followed. Grandma Josephine read everything carefully, her lips pressed into a thin line. "I heard them talking," she said finally. "Last week, at Claire's dress fitting at that boutique in Oak Brook." My heart started pounding. "They were planning the seating chart," she continued. "Your mother suggested putting you at table 14. In the back corner. Behind the cousins nobody talks to. She said you're too intense lately and might bring down the mood in photos." I couldn't breathe. Claire agreed. She said you've been acting jealous and weird about the wedding. Grandma's voice was quiet but fierce. They decided it would be easier if you just didn't come. But they still wanted your money, of course. Something inside me cracked open. Not broken. Opened. Like a door I'd been pushing against my entire life finally giving way. "They didn't think you'd mind," Grandma added, reaching across the table to take my hand. "Because you always stay quiet and do the right thing." The tears came then. Not sad tears. Angry tears. "I've given them everything," I whispered. "I know, sweetheart. And it's never enough." "It never will be," she said. "Not with people like that." We sat there for a long time, my hand in hers, while the afternoon light faded through my windows and the city hummed below us. Finally, Grandma stood up. "What are you going to do?" she asked. I looked at my laptop on the counter, where the folder of receipts and contracts waited. "I'm going to stop paying for my own misery," I said. Grandma smiled. "Good girl." I woke up Thursday morning with absolute clarity. The kind of clarity that comes after years of fog finally lifts. The kind that makes you wonder how you ever saw things any other way. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and pulled up the folder I'd labeled Claire's wedding. Inside were 53 documents, contracts, invoices, email confirmations, payment receipts. Every single one had my name on it. My signature. My credit card number. I'd always been meticulous about records. It was part of being the responsible one. Now that meticulousness was about to save me. I started making phone calls at 9 o'clock sharp. First up, the Renaissance Grand Hotel in downtown Milwaukee, where the reception was supposed to take place. A beautiful venue right on the river, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a ballroom that could hold 200 guests. "Hi, this is Brittany Morrison calling about the Morrison-Hayes wedding on November 18th. The event coordinator, a woman named Patricia, answered cheerfully. "Oh yes. We are so excited. Everything is coming together beautifully." "I need to cancel," I said. Pause. "I'm sorry, cancel what specifically?" "Everything. The ceremony space, the reception hall, the cocktail hour package. All of it." Longer pause. "Ms. Morrison, the wedding is in 3 weeks. We have a no-refund policy for cancellations within 30 days. "I understand. Keep the deposit. I just need everything cancelled immediately." I could hear papers shuffling. "May I ask why?" "I'm no longer attending the wedding, and I was the one who booked and paid for everything." Another pause. "I'll need to speak with the bride." "The contract is in my name. Check your files." More shuffling. Then, "You're right. It is." "Okay, Ms. Morrison, I'll process the cancellation. We'll send confirmation within 24 hours." One down. Next, Harmony Strings Quartet, the musicians who were supposed to play during the ceremony. I'd found them through a recommendation from a colleague and had been impressed by their demo. They'd required full payment up front. The conversation went similarly. Surprise, pushback, then resignation when they checked their contract. Then the florist. Bella Flora in Lincoln Park, where I'd spent hours with Claire choosing centerpieces and bouquets. The owner, Marcus, actually sounded upset. "But we've already ordered the peonies from our supplier in Holland," he said. "Keep the deposit for your trouble," I replied. "But I need the order cancelled." By noon, I'd contacted 12 vendors. By 3 o'clock, 18. By the time the sun was setting over Lake Michigan, I'd systematically dismantled the entire wedding. The photographer. Cancelled. The videographer. Cancelled. The DJ for the reception. Cancelled. The cake from Sweet Mandy BS. Cancelled. The transportation service for guests. Cancelled. The rehearsal dinner reservation at Gibson's Steakhouse. Cancelled. The wedding favors from that boutique in Wicker Park. Cancelled. Every single thing that had my name attached to it, gone. My phone started ringing around 4 o'clock. I didn't answer. The voicemails piled up. The text messages flooded in. The group chat became unusable, just a constant stream of increasingly frantic messages. I poured myself another glass of wine and felt nothing but peace. Friday afternoon, my father showed up at my apartment. I heard his heavy footsteps on the stairs before the doorbell rang. Dad's a big man, former college football player, still built like he could knock someone over. He'd always used his presence to intimidate, to make himself the authority in any room. Not today. I opened the door and stood in the doorway, not inviting him in. "What have you done?" he demanded, his face red. "Exactly what I said I would do," I replied calmly. "Since you don't want me at the wedding, you don't need my help paying for it. This is your sister's big day." "Yes," I said. "And you excluded me from it. Not just emotionally. Literally. You told me not to come." He sputtered, looking for words. "Your mother didn't mean it that way." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Dad, Claire liked the message. She endorsed it. They meant it exactly that way." "You're being dramatic." "I'm being honest. There's a difference." He pointed his finger at me, that old gesture of authority. "You're going to ruin your sister's wedding because of hurt feelings." "No," I said. "I'm withdrawing my financial support from an event I've been excluded from. That's not revenge. That's common sense." "We are family," he said, and his voice cracked a little. That's when something inside me hardened completely. "Family doesn't disinvite someone and expect them to keep paying," I said. "Family doesn't put someone at table 14 in the back corner and call them too intense. Family doesn't take and take without ever giving back." His face went pale. "How do you know about the seating chart? Does it matter?" He stood there, 6'3", a former athlete, looking suddenly small and lost. "The wedding is in 3 weeks, he whispered. "Then you better start making phone calls," I said. I closed the door. Behind it, I heard him stand there for a long moment. Then his footsteps, heavy and slow, retreating down the stairs. I didn't cry. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel anything except the sweet, strange relief of finally standing up for myself. Saturday morning, Grandma Josephine called. "Can you come to my house?" she asked. "I have something to show you." She lived in a small ranch house in Naperville, the same house she'd lived in since my grandfather died 15 years ago. It was filled with photos and memories, doilies on every surface, the smell of vanilla and old books. When I arrived, she had tea waiting. Real tea, in her good china, the set with the roses. We sat in her living room, and she handed me a manila folder. "I've been meaning to give you this," she said. Inside was a document. Legal papers. I recognized the header. Her will. Grandma. "I changed it," she said quietly. "Last month. Everything that was going to be split between you and Claire is now going to you. The house, the savings, the bonds your grandfather left me. All of it." I couldn't speak. "I've watched you carry this family for 32 years, she continued. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were fierce. "I've watched them take and never say thank you. Never acknowledge what you sacrifice. And I've watched them treat Claire like she's made of glass while treating you like you're made of steel." Tears burned my eyes. "But here's the thing about steel," Grandma said, reaching over to take my hand. "It's strong because it's been through fire. You've been through fire your whole life, sweetheart. And you came out stronger." "They're going to be so angry," I whispered. "Let them be angry. I know who loves me. And I know who uses people." She squeezed my hand. "This isn't about money. It's about recognizing value. And you, my darling girl, are valuable." I hugged her so tightly I heard her laugh. "Thank you," I said into her shoulder. "Don't thank me. Just promise me something. Anything. Promise me you'll stop setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. I pulled back and looked at her. This tiny woman with white hair and soft hands, who somehow had more strength than anyone else in my family. I promise, I said. And I meant it. Claire and my parents left for the wedding destination on Tuesday morning. Yes, you read that right. Destination wedding. Because of course it was a destination wedding. They decided months ago, before my exclusion, before the cancellations, before everything imploded, that they wanted a beach ceremony in Charleston, South Carolina. Claire had been obsessed with the idea of getting married with the ocean as her backdrop, palm trees swaying, the whole romantic fantasy. I'd helped book the resort. I'd coordinated the travel arrangements. I'd created a spreadsheet of who was staying in which room. And I'd been systematically cancelling those arrangements all week. But they didn't know that yet. The group chat that week was fascinating to watch. They'd created a new one, without me, but Grandma was still in it and she was taking screenshots and sending them to me. Monday, photos of luggage being packed. Claire's caption, 3 days until I marry my best friend. Tuesday morning, airport selfies. Matching t-shirts that said Team Bride. Mom, Dad, Claire, Trevor, Aunt Diane, Uncle Lawrence, and about 15 cousins and family friends, all smiling. No one mentioned me. Tuesday afternoon, photos from the flight. Champagne. Laughter. Tuesday evening, arrival at the resort. Sunset photos. The pool. The beach. More champagne. Wednesday morning, that's when it started. Claire posted in the group chat, "Has anyone heard from the wedding coordinator at the resort? She's not responding to my messages." An hour later, the venue manager says there's some kind of issue with our booking. 2 hours later, why is the florist saying our order was cancelled? 3 hours later, the caterer says they don't have US on file. By Wednesday afternoon, the group chat was in full meltdown mode. Mom, someone call Brittany. Now. Dad, she's not answering. Claire, what did she do? Aunt Diane, this has to be a mistake. Trevor, can someone please explain what's happening? Uncle Lawrence, the photographer just emailed. He says the contract was cancelled 2 weeks ago. Claire, BYWHO. Grandma Josephine, bless her soul, responded, by Brittany. Everything was in her name. She cancelled it all when you told her not to come. The chat went silent for exactly 4 minutes. Then Claire sent a voice message. I didn't listen to it. Grandma told me it was mostly screaming. Mom called me 17 times on Wednesday. Dad called 12. Claire called so many times my phone actually gave me a notification about excessive calls from the same number. I responded to exactly one message, from Mom. Everything that was under my name has been cancelled. You told me not to come. You told me I was the problem. So I removed myself and my contributions. I hope you can salvage the wedding. Good luck. Then I turned my phone off. I spent Wednesday evening at Grandma's house. We made pot roast, watched old episodes of The Golden Girls, and didn't talk about the family at all. It was the most peaceful evening I'd had in months. Thursday, the messages got desperate. When I finally turned my phone back on Thursday morning, there were over 200 notifications. The gist: the wedding was falling apart. The resort venue had been booked by someone else. The caterer had taken on another event. The photographer had a different wedding that weekend. The florist had sold the peonies to another bride. Everything I'd carefully arranged and paid for had been systematically reassigned or cancelled. There would be no beach wedding. No palm trees. No sunset ceremony. There would be a very expensive trip to Charleston with nothing to show for it. Friday morning, they came home early. I met them at Grandma Josephine's house on Saturday afternoon. That was deliberate. I wanted neutral territory. I wanted a witness. And I wanted backup. When I arrived at 1 o'clock, Grandma had already set up the living room like a meeting space. Chairs arranged in a circle. Water glasses on the coffee table. And sitting next to her was a man in a suit. Brittany, this is Lawrence Hoffman, Grandma said. My attorney. Mom, Dad, and Claire arrived 15 minutes late, which was also deliberate. A power play. Walking in together, a united front. But they stopped short when they saw Hoffman. "What is this?" Mom asked, her voice tight. "This is a conversation that should have happened years ago," Grandma said. "Sit down." They Saturday. Nobody looked at me directly. Not at first. They looked at the attorney, at Grandma, at the furniture. Anywhere but at me. Finally, Mom spoke. "Brittany, you didn't have to go this far." I met her eyes. "You told me not to come to Claire's wedding. You didn't just suggest it. You explicitly told me." And Claire agreed. "We just wanted a peaceful celebration," Mom said, her voice taking on that tone. "The one that said I was being unreasonable. You've been so stressed lately, so negative about everything." "I've been stressed because I've been planning and paying for a wedding I apparently wasn't welcome at," I interrupted. Claire crossed her arms. Her face was blotchy from crying, her usual polish gone. "You're overreacting. We just thought it would be easier." "Easier for who?" I asked. "Not for me. You wanted convenient. You wanted my money without my presence. You wanted my labor without my humanity." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Family helps family." "You're right," I said. "Family does help family. But I haven't been treated like family. I've been treated like a bank account with legs." I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. A thick one. I'd spent Friday night preparing it, printing everything, organizing it chronologically. I handed copies to each of them. "Inside you'll find detailed receipts for everything I've paid for relating to this wedding," I said. My voice was steady. Professional. Venue deposits, band contracts, catering agreements, photography packages, floral arrangements, transportation bookings, hotel blocks, the rehearsal dinner, the bridal shower, the bachelorette weekend in Nashville. Everything. They opened the folders. I watched their faces as they saw the numbers. $47,000, I said. "That's what I've paid. Not loaned. Not contributed to. Paid. From my accounts. With my credit cards. Under my name." Mom's hand went to her mouth. "None of you ever asked how I'd afford this," I continued. "None of you ever offered to split costs. You just expected me to handle it because that's what I always do. I handle things." "We were going to pay you back," Claire said, but her voice was weak. "When?" I asked. "You've been engaged for 6 months. Not once have you paid me back for anything. Not the bridal shower. Not the bachelorette trip. Not a single vendor deposit." Silence. "But the money isn't even the worst part," I said. "The worst part is that you excluded me from the event I was funding. You put me at the back table. You called me too intense. You told me not to come. And you expected me to keep paying anyway." "We didn't think you'd actually," Dad started. "Didn't think I'd what? Stand up for myself? Set a boundary? Stop letting you use me?" Hoffman cleared his throat. "Ms. Morrison has every right to cancel contracts under her name. She's also prepared an invoice for the funds already spent, should you wish to proceed with reimbursement." I pulled out another sheet of paper. "This is not a legal demand. I'm not suing you. But this is what I spent, and you need to understand the reality of what you asked of me." I placed it on the coffee table. "You don't have to pay me back," I said. "But you do have to acknowledge what you did. And you have to understand that I'm done being your safety net." Mom's eyes were wet. "Brittany, you're our daughter." "Then treat me like one," I said. "Not like a resource you can drain whenever it's convenient." The room fell completely silent. It wasn't a dramatic silence. It wasn't filled with tension or electricity. It was just empty, like the space where all the pretending used to be. Grandma Josephine spoke next, her voice gentle but unyielding. "I've watched this family take advantage of Brittany her entire life," she said. "I've watched her sacrifice her time, her money, her energy, her mental health trying to earn your approval. And I've watched you accept it as if it's her duty." "Mom," my mother started. "I changed my will," Grandma said simply. "Everything comes to Brittany now. The house, the savings, everything. Because she's the only one who's ever taken care of me without expecting something in return. You could have heard a pin drop. Claire's face went white. You can't be serious. I'm entirely serious, Grandma said. I know who loves me. And I know who uses people. Brittany has never once asked me for anything. She visits every week. She calls to check on me. She fixed my porch steps last month without being asked. She's family. Real family. Mom looked like she'd been slapped. Dad stared at the floor. This isn't about the money, Grandma continued. This is about recognizing value. Brittany has value. Not because of what she can do for you, but because of who she is. And if you can't see that, then you don't deserve her. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. Claire stood up abruptly. This is insane. You're all insane. I'm getting married next month and my sister ruined my wedding because of some stupid text message. You liked that message, I said quietly. You endorsed my exclusion. Don't pretend this was just Mom. She stared at me, and for the first time, I saw something flicker across her face. Not quite guilt. Not quite recognition. But something close. I just wanted one day, she whispered. One day where everything wasn't about you being the perfect one. That hit differently than I expected. This was never about me being perfect, I said. This was about me being invisible unless you needed something. There's a difference. She didn't respond. Dad finally spoke. What do you want from us, Brittany? It was the first honest question anyone had asked me in years. I want you to see me, I said. Not as a solution to your problems. Not as free labor. Not as a piggy bank. Just see me. See that I have limits. See that I have feelings. See that I'm a person who deserves respect. We do see you, Mom said. No, I replied. You see what I can do for you. That's not the same thing. The silence stretched out again. Finally, Hoffman stood up. I think that's enough for today. Ms. Morrison has made her position clear. Any further contact should be respectful and acknowledge the boundaries she's setting. It felt surreal, having an attorney speak on my behalf, but also strangely empowering. As they stood to leave, Mom touched my arm. I'm sorry, she whispered. I looked at her. Really looked. Saw the age lines around her eyes, the tiredness, the regret that might actually be real. Thank you, I said. But sorry isn't enough. You have to do better. She nodded, tears spilling over. They left without another word. After the door closed, Grandma pulled me into a hug. You were magnificent, she said. I was terrified, I admitted. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing it anyway. We sat on her couch for a long time after that. Not talking. Just being. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. 6 weeks later. I'm sitting in a coffee shop in Lakeview, my laptop open, working on a presentation for work. The autumn has turned to winter. Snow is starting to dust the sidewalks. Chicago is beautiful in that sharp, cold way that makes everything feel clean and new. My phone buzzes. A text from Claire. Can we talk? I stare at it for a long moment. Then I type back, yes, but not until you're ready to have a real conversation. She responds immediately, I am. We meet the next day at a neutral location, a small cafe near Millennium Park. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a mug. She looks different. Smaller somehow. Less polished. Hi, she says. Hi. We sit in awkward silence for a moment. I got married, she finally says. 2 weeks ago. Small ceremony at Trevor's parents' house. Just immediate family. I heard. Grandma had told me. It was nice, Claire continues. Quiet. Not what I planned, but nice. I wait. You were right, she says, and her voice cracks. About everything. I've been thinking about it for weeks. You were right. About what specifically? About me taking you for granted. About using you. About... She pauses. About liking that text message. I didn't even think about what that meant. I was so stressed and Mom said you've been acting weird and I just went along with it. I wasn't acting weird, I say. I was exhausted. I know that now. We sit with that for a moment. I don't know if I can forgive you yet, I say honestly. Not just you. All of them. What you did hurt me in ways I'm still processing. I understand, she says. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not sorry that the wedding fell apart. Sorry that I made you feel invisible. It's the first real apology I've gotten. Thank you, I say. Can we try? She asks. Not go back to how things were, but maybe build something different. I think about that. About all the years of resentment and exhaustion. About the relief I've felt these past weeks, not being responsible for everyone else's problems. But I also think about the little girl who used to follow me around, who looked up to me before everything got complicated. Maybe, I say, but it has to be equal. I'm not your backup plan anymore. I'm not your safety net. If we're going to be sisters, we have to be actual sisters. She nods, tears streaming down her face. Okay. We talk for another hour. Really talk. About our childhood, about the family dynamics, about how we both got trapped in roles we never agreed to play. It's not perfect. It's not fixed. But it's honest. And that's more than we've ever had before. Mom sends flowers the next week. Not with a card that says sorry. With a card that says I'm learning. It's a start. Dad calls and asks if I want to get dinner. Just the two of us. We meet at a diner in Skokie, and he spends an hour not making excuses. Just listening. I didn't realize how much we put on you, he says over coffee. I thought you wanted to help. I did want to help, I say. But helping shouldn't mean sacrificing everything. He nods. I'm going to do better. I hope so. The family dynamics don't transform overnight. There are still weird moments. Still group texts where old patterns try to emerge. Still times when I have to remind them, and myself, that I have boundaries now. But slowly, things shift. Claire starts paying for her own things. Mom stops asking me to just handle stuff for everyone. Dad actually asks how I'm doing instead of what I'm doing for everyone else. Grandma Josephine smiles at me over Sunday dinner one evening and squeezes my hand. You did it, she whispers. You freed yourself. And she's right. The most surprising change comes from within me. I'm lighter somehow. Like I've been carrying a backpack full of rocks for 32 years and finally set it down. I laugh more. I sleep better. I make decisions based on what I want, not what everyone else needs. I book a trip to Portugal for myself. Just me. 2 weeks of wandering through Lisbon, eating pastéis de nata, sitting by the ocean. I don't ask permission. I don't feel guilty. I just go. And it's glorious. When I come back, tanned and relaxed, Grandma asks me how it was. It was perfect, I say. I felt like myself for the first time in years. That's because you are yourself now, she says. Not the version they wanted. The real you. On what would have been Claire's original wedding date, I take myself to dinner at a fancy restaurant in the Gold Coast. I order the expensive wine. I get the steak. I eat dessert. And I toast to myself. To boundaries. To self-respect. To learning that the most powerful thing you can do is stop sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate it. My phone buzzes during dessert. It's the family group chat. Claire has posted a photo from her actual wedding. Small and intimate. She looks happy. Really happy. She's tagged me with a message. Thank you for teaching me what really matters. I smile and like the message. Because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is refusing to let them use you. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is the permission to walk away. When my mom texted me not to come, she thought she was removing a problem. She didn't realize she was freeing me. And I never planned revenge. I simply stopped paying for my own misery. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from people who can't see your value. And mean it. Because you deserve to be seen. Not for what you can do, but for who you are. And that, I've learned, is everything.